Madison followed the group to the parking lot. By 1:54 a.m., Madison and the men drove off into the night. Just an hour later, at 2:50 a.m. on January 15th, 2023, the sound of a collision pierced through the peaceful night at Burbank Drive, just a few miles away from the bar. A pedestrian was hit, so the driver of the vehicle got out of his car, followed by two other drivers on the road. This also drew the attention of passers-by in the area who scrambled towards the scene. They were greeted by a disturbing sight: the body of a woman slumped over the side of the road, unmoving and hurt badly.
All right, y'all. Breezy family, how y'all doing today on this fine Thursday? Breezy Life tweets gonna come back at y'all with yet another reaction video. Sorry. Today we're on Story Explained once again. We got Jocks took advantage of Cheerleader in her weakest moment. So Madison, wait, is it Madison? Oh, okay, Madison Brooks' case. So they're gonna explain it right now, but I'm assuming it's her. Yeah, man, this is gonna be my last reaction video of the day. You know, I like shooting reaction videos, but sometimes I get a little bored with just sitting here watching videos all day. Like, I don't want to do that all the time. Like, I enjoy doing it, but to a certain extent, you feel me? Cause then it starts to feel like a job. Like, I don't like that. You know, I just like to watch videos, put them out for y'all. And if y'all enjoy them, well, that's it right there. You know, y'all enjoy them, and I appreciate that, man. But yeah, stay tuned to the end of the video, and I got a surprise for y'all. You already know what it is. Let's get into it. Are we in? Yeah, we are. Let's go.
We start with a tragedy that's dividing a Louisiana community down racial lines.
Listen, this is a tragedy. Definitely not a crime.
We're not going to allow any victim blaming to occur here.
People around her should not have taken advantage of her. They should have protected her.
Yeah, so much left to figure out. A very disturbing case.
I'm sorry that I offended you that bad. Get out, get out.
In the city of Covington, Louisiana, resided Madison Kennedy Brooks, the eldest daughter of John Brooks and Ashley Bostert, and big sister to Aiden and Brady. Madison was a go-getter who excelled in school, both in academics and in extracurricular activities. She was an honor roll student at St. Scholastica Academy when she graduated back in 2021 and went on to be accepted at Louisiana State University's Manship School of Mass Communication. Driven with ambition, Madison even chose to stay in school during the summer to complete her summer classes and jump ahead. Apart from these, the determined woman juggled being a cheerleader, a school athlete, and an active member of communities like Doves for Life and the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. She was set to complete the last semester of her sophomore year in 2023. She was a lively woman, taking an interest in traveling, skydiving, skiing, and going on adventures to explore new cities. To top it off, she was also an active and devoted sister at the esteemed Alpha Phi sorority. The future had so much in store for a trailblazer like Madison. However, one night, her bright and happy life took an unimaginable turn. On the night of January 14th, 2023, Madison and her friends decided to welcome the weekend with a fun-filled night of partying, drinking, and dancing. At 10:06 p.m., they went to a local Baton Rouge bar in Tigerland called Reggie's. Being one of the most popular bars in the area, Reggie's was a go-to drinking place for local college students, more so since it had a reputation for bending rules on who they served drinks to. By 10:18 p.m., a group of men strolled into Reggie's as well. Before long, they mingled with Madison's group. At some point, Madison was even seen dancing with and hugging one of the men. As the partying went on, Madison exchanged text messages with her mother, Ashley, and even sent her a picture of herself with the son of one of her mother's previous sorority sisters. At 11:38 p.m., after assuring her mother that she'll be safe and at home right after her night out, Madison ended their conversation with an "I love you." By 1 a.m., Madison was seen swaying, stumbling, and even slurring her words as her drinks muddled her senses. She fell over a handful of times, but still kept getting back up with the help of one of the men she danced with. A while later, her new friends decided it was time to leave. It was only then that Madison noticed that her group was nowhere to be found, as if they'd left without her. Because of this, she turned to her new companions and asked for a ride home. Luckily, one of the men brought their car with them. So I wouldn't be surprised if they was on some stuff like, oh, she was doing too much, let's just leave her. But still, there ain't no reason to leave somebody. Like, even if one of my homies got too drunk, I'm not gonna leave my homie there because he wilding. Like, I'm like, all right, bro, it's time for us to go. But I'm not gonna be like on some shit like, hey, bro, you deal with that, you grown and dip. Like, nah, like that's one of my friends. I gotta make sure they're good. We got there together, we gotta leave together, you know. So
I wouldn't be surprised if that was the situation, but I mean, I could be wrong because it's not that much context.
Madison followed the group to the parking lot. By 1:54 a.m., Madison and the men drove off into the night. Just an hour later, at 2:50 a.m. on January 15th, 2023, the sound of a collision pierced through the peaceful night at Burbank Drive, just a few miles away from the bar. A pedestrian was hit, so the driver of the vehicle got out of his car, followed by two other drivers on the road. This also drew the attention of passers-by in the area who scrambled towards the scene. They were greeted by a disturbing sight: the body of a woman slumped over the side of the road, unmoving and hurt badly, so the witnesses dialed 911 to report the incident. Authorities quickly responded, calmly instructing the caller to administer first aid to the woman while waiting for paramedics to arrive. The concerned citizens obeyed and stayed with the victim until help arrived. Paramedics eventually took over to resuscitate and load the victim into an ambulance before quickly transporting her to the hospital. There, medical personnel, with the help of police investigators who surveyed the crime scene, identified the car accident victim as Madison Brooks. Ashley Bostard, who was at home about an hour away from Louisiana, got the call from the police. Alarmed, she hurriedly went to the hospital with her mother, Mandy LeBlanc. Sadly, by the time they reached the hospital, Madison was barely clinging to life, clinging on to hope that they'd at least have a chance to say goodbye. Ashley called over the rest of the family to be by Madison's side in her final moments. Despite the doctor's efforts to revive her, it was too late. In the early hours of January 15th, 2023, the doctors declared that Madison Brooks had succumbed to her injuries. The horrific events made the next day's morning news, startling the sleepy Sunday morning of Baton Rouge. The distraught family mourned Madison, but for Ashley, something wasn't right with the events leading to her daughter's demise. First, she found out that Madison didn't have her phone with her, nor was it anywhere near the place she was hit. Her daughter being on a rainy highway at 3 in the morning, alone and with no phone, was odd for Ashley since Madison was supposed to be at the bar with her friends. Not long after, Madison's family found her phone back in Reggie's. This provided the authorities the place to start their investigation to uncover how Madison ended up on the highway that evening. The bar gave their full cooperation and turned over all surveillance footage of that night. Skimming through video footage from Reggie's bar, they saw the 4 men who stuck to Madison's side nearly the whole time she was there. They were Kaysen Carver, Kyvon Washington, Desmond Carter, and Kayvon's uncle, Everett Lee. Authorities immediately contacted each of the men, believing that they were the last to have seen Madison alive. On January 16th, 2023, Kaysen Carver voluntarily went to the sheriff's office and agreed to answer questions, while Desmond and Everett declined to give their statements. Kaysen attended Walker High School, where he played on the baseball team, in which his father was the coach. This was where he met Kyvon and Desmond, who both played in the school's varsity football. Kaysen confirmed that they went to Reggie's that night where they met Madison, though he stressed that didn't know her until then. He confirmed that she was very intoxicated and that she was unable to keep her balance during their time at the bar. He also admitted that she asked them for a ride home since her friends left, thus asserting that Madison willingly left with them that night. Kaysen was the group's driver that night, while Everett was in the passenger seat. Kayvon, Desmond, and Madison were in the back seat. At some point, Kaysen claimed to have pulled over on Jennifer Jean Drive, where he allegedly heard Desmond asking Madison if she wanted to spend some private time with him. According to Kaysen, she said yes. He recalled being uncomfortable about the interaction happening in the back seat, especially when Kayvon joined in. Kaysen maintained that Madison agreed to this act, but when the police asked him if she could have been too impaired to consent, he answered yes. After that, they struggled to find Madison's address, given that she wasn't coherent enough to tell them. Because of this, the group eventually gave up and decided to drop her off at a nearby subdivision called Pelican Lakes on Burbank Drive. This is where Madison met her untimely death moments later. After Kaysen gave his statement, Kayvon also agreed to give his own, but waived his rights to an attorney. He recounted the same story that his friend told the police, emphasizing how Madison was quite inebriated. He added that when they went to the car, Madison and Desmond already started touching each other, though he denied that he himself participated in their intimate activities. Despite this, when investigators asked him for a DNA sample, Kyvon clammed up and requested for an attorney. On January 18th, 2023, an autopsy was done on Madison's body. Shane Evans, the chief of investigations for East Baton Rouge's coroner's office, reported that the cause of Madison's passing was multiple traumatic injuries and second motor vehicular collision. This meant that she was still alive at the time of the crash, though incapacitated. After a thorough examination, the coroner also discovered a much more disturbing detail. Madison's body was also found with injuries consistent with forced intimacy. The hospital's medical records also revealed that Madison's blood alcohol content was nearly 4 times the legal limit. This meant that she was likely experiencing the effects of liquor poisoning, including confusion and even loss of consciousness.
Anytime you get above 0.25 percent alcohol intoxication, that is when you start getting into trouble with your balance, trouble walking straight without assistance.
Apart from these, Madison was likely too intoxicated to be aware of her surroundings, let alone be conscious enough to agree to certain acts. With the autopsy and the medical records released, along with the men's statements, authorities believed that this was more than a motor vehicle accident. Madison Brooks was subjected to physical harm before being abandoned by those she believed would get her home safe. With this, the men she was with on that night were held at the East Baton Rouge.
But see, that's what I'm
Sheriff's
saying.
Office.
Like, I would really teach my daughters to not, like, you can drink and have fun, bro. There's a limit. Like, there's no problem with drinking. As long as, that's why all liquor companies, all alcohol companies say drink responsibly. Like, they know what they're making, but they're also telling you, hey, look, we're making a product, but we know what our product does. It's up to you to know your limit. You feel me? So it's like, bro, it's no problem with smoking or drinking, in my opinion, as long as you're just doing it in moderation and it's not, you're not, like, you know, if you was not drunk, or if you was probably like a little less intoxicated, then maybe it would have went differently. You never know. It might have went the same, but you might have made different decisions if you was not as drunk, is what I'm saying. So I'm gonna really teach my daughters, like, look, it's okay to do these things, and at the same time, you're gonna have impulsive. You're gonna make impulsive decisions. You might you took a shot. You're like, you know, I could take another one, and you get, no, I could take another one. But you know, you kind of start getting into that. And look, if it's fun, I understand that. You might have 1 or 2 nights like that. That's just me personally, but you know, it might be different for everybody. You might have a couple nights where you just really feel, you know, I'm gonna get really drunk tonight. But bro, you gotta know, like, I feel like if you're gonna do that, like, just doing one thing like once or twice, okay. But if you're doing that, getting fucked up every single time you drink, or like every weekend, and people gotta take care of you, you're gonna become that, like, it's gonna be situations like that where people will just leave you if you don't have good friends, you know. You feel me? But like, you gotta just do it in moderation, man, because once you overdo it, I feel like that's when it gets bad.
This jail on January 24th, 2023, for suspicion of harming Madison before her death. During their bond hearing, the suspect's attorneys turned over a video taken by Kyvon inside the car on that fateful night. It showed the men laughing and joking about the inebriated Madison, who demanded to get out so she could call a car to go home.
I'm sorry that I offended you that bad. Get out, get out. I will Uber on my own.
They presented this video as evidence that Madison was coherent enough to make her decisions and prove the suspect's innocence. However, Judge Brad Myers saw the opposite. Instead, he saw how callous the suspects were by cackling at the way she was slurring her words. From this video and from another footage from the bar that showed Madison falling over repeatedly, Judge Myers came to the conclusion that a crime had indeed happened. With the evidence stacked against them, Kason Carver, Kyvon Washington, Desmond Carter, and Everett Lee were officially charged. Kyvon and Desmond faced charges of third-degree aggression, while Kason and Everett were charged for being witnesses to their crime without intervening or reporting it. Kyvon, Everett, and Kason were allowed to be put on house arrest with ankle monitors after posting bail, which were set between $50,000 to $150,000 each. They were also asked to submit to random blood tests and advised not to post anything about the case on social media platforms or to contact Madison's family in any way. Then, on February 22nd, 2023, Desmond faced a grand jury and was charged with 2 counts of intimate aggression. In addition, on May 16th, 2023, Kyvon Washington was indicted once again by the East Baton Rouge Parish Grand Jury on 2 counts of intimate and physical attacks and for recording a video of the crime. He has since been held at Livingston Parish Detention Center. As for the driver who fatally hit Madison, he was not charged and his identity has not been made public. While investigations continued, authorities discovered that Kyvon had a similar run-in with the law back in 2020 when he was accused of taking advantage of a female at a pool party. His attorney, Ron Haley, asserted that his client cooperated with the investigation at that time and will continue to do so with the current case. Their lawyers also highlighted how security footage from Reggie's proved that Madison willingly left with the men and was not forced into their car in any way. Haley stressed that Madison was coherent enough that she could even be seen running across the street to catch up with them. He and Kaysen's attorney, Joe Long, also maintained that the private act that occurred was not forced and that the anger towards their clients was the community's need to pin the blame on someone.
Absolutely not. Listen, this is a tragedy.
If Miss Brooks was alive, this would not be a crime. She would not have complained about it at all. And so the only reason it's there is because the understandable anger in the community wants someone to pay for her death. And we understand that. But our clients did not do that.
In response to their claims, the Brooks family attorney, Carrie Miller, said that Madison was violated and that blaming her for what happened is a horrible tactic. Miller highlighted that someone that intoxicated should be helped and not be taken advantage of, and definitely not be dropped off in the middle of nowhere all by herself.
We're not going to allow any victim blaming to occur here. She was a victim of a horrific which led to her death.
Meanwhile, Reggie's continued to be in hot water as local law enforcement, together with the Louisiana Office of Alcohol and Tobacco Control, or ATC, continued their investigation. They uncovered a whole spread of problems connected to the establishment, the most common of which was the constant turning of a blind eye on who they served liquor to, which had been already happening for several years. Reggie's was also the place where LSU football player Dylan Gordon was stabbed multiple times in a bar fight in 2016, while in 2022, a male patron was fatally wounded right outside the bar.
So no one died there at that time, but now that we have a death, that kind of changes the game here.
These piled up
Reggie's going to have to close down
to discuss the fate of the infamous
Reggie's
bar.
going out of business.
What penalties will be imposed based on the glaring evidence against them.
Our chief and principal mission is to make sure that underage individuals don't have access to alcohol. This business failed in this regard, and it led to tragic circumstances.
Eventually, the ATC charged Reggie's with 28 violations of state liquor laws,
Goddamn.
including 24 counts of unlawful distribution. The bar was initially on probation and was fined up to $15,000 for their offenses, and the owner, Darren Adams, was barred permanently from an alcohol and tobacco license in Louisiana. Later in the year, Reggie's was closed
Told
for
you,
good.
Reggie's going out of
Then,
business.
on January 20th, 2024, the case continued as the First Circuit Court of Appeal granted Attorney Long access to Madison's phone records dating back to 72 hours before her demise. This allowed him to discover new details, which soon prompted him to file a motion in the 19th Judicial District Court on March 11th, 2024, for a preliminary examination of new evidence. Based on her phone data, Long claimed that another male had private activities with Madison the day before she passed, and that one of her female friends confirmed the details. Long stressed that the intimate injuries found on Madison's body could have been caused during this encounter, not on the night she was with the suspects. However, the district attorney countered that involving the victim's intimate history was inappropriate. The motion is expected to be held later this year, where the court will go over these new allegations.
I ain't gonna comment
As
on
of
that
this
because she
writing,
passed. That's
trial
sad.
for Kaysen Carver, Kayvon Washington, Desmond Carter, and Everett Lee is yet to be scheduled. While their fates are still undetermined, Madison's mother, Ashley Bostard, continues to hope that justice for her daughter will be served in due time. By February 3rd, 2023, Madison was finally laid to rest in her hometown of Covington, Louisiana. A mass was held at St. Peter Catholic Church, followed by the interment at Pinecrest Memorial Gardens. The funeral was attended by family and numerous friends of Madison, all paying tribute to the beloved woman.
She was always there for everyone. Honestly, it just breaks my heart.
Ashley Bostard has also put together a non-profit organization called the Madison Brooks Foundation to honor her daughter's memory. The foundation promoted safety for the youth in hopes of preventing what happened to Madison from occurring to anyone else. They also spread awareness about organ donation, since Madison's heart valves and kidneys were donated after her untimely demise, thus turning her tragedy into hope for someone else. On May 7th, 2023, what would have been Madison's birthday, Ashley visited New York to witness one of the billboards feature a slideshow about her daughter and the foundation.
Really, the goal of Maddie's mom is to never have this happen again, to never have any other family feel the kind of pain that she's feeling right now.
We want to provide a scholarship for someone in need, to advocate for the safety of young adults, and to spread awareness for the gift of organ donation, which Maddie was able to donate her heart valves and her kidney.
Meanwhile, the female LSU students who knew Madison also banded together to create a safe space group where women who needed a ride home could ask for one for free.
Hoping more girls will take advantage of this and be like, hey, I need a ride, instead of just walking home or getting a ride from a total stranger.
Today, the Madison Brooks Foundation stands strong and continues to honor the memory of a life tragically cut short. A year after this tragedy,
I feel like you could do that, but I feel like people might start taking advantage of that, just start getting free rides just because they don't have the money to get home. Like,
across different states, persists in reaching out and providing help to those who need it. Amidst the grief and the better changes born out of this tragic loss, Madison's memory continues to shine and live on in the hearts of her loved ones and the people she's helped, even after her passing.
She was just this beautiful bundle of joy, really. Like, just her laugh was so contagious. I just love you, Maddie. And I know she's watching over all of us right now, so I feel at peace knowing that.
I focus on what I have and the great 18 years that I was able to have with her. The times I've been the most happy have been spent with you, and I'll always cherish those precious memories.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this.
Damn,
turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel.
And they're quick as hell, man. RIP to her, man. I'm saying, like, I mean, I don't really want to comment on that. Yeah, RIP to her, man.